Hello, I'm Nikki Callison, and along with my husband Roger, we own and operate Callison Ranch and Callison Ranch Beef right here in southern Oklahoma. On Callison Ranch, we raise cow-calf pairs and also run stockers. Our Callison Ranch Beef ships our ranch-raised, dry-aged beef right from the ranch to families all over the United States. We are ranchers, we are hunters, and we are conservationists. And because of this, we are totally committed to the sustainability of this land that we love. I'd love to show you some of the conservation practices that we use, so join me. I'm standing inside one of our hay barns where all summer long we put up these giant round bales to feed our herds all winter. We are cattle ranchers, but as my husband likes to say, we're really grass farmers. And it's true. We are growing grass and taking care of this wonderful natural resource so that our cattle can harvest it and make great beef. But it all begins below the grass. It begins in an incredible ecosystem unto itself, and that is the soil. We want healthy soil so that we have plenty of grass for our cattle. One of the ways that we do that is rotational grazing, and this gives each pasture an opportunity for the land to rest and to regenerate itself. Water is absolutely vital here on the ranch. We need it to not only water the fields, but to fill the ponds and to make enough hay so that we can feed the cattle through the winter. In this next clip, though, I'm going to show you that we can't always predict what Mother Nature is going to send our way. And in one particular time, we received 18 inches of rain in 24 hours. And this watershed near where we had some steers flooded, and Roger had to swim out to save some of our steers.
There was a gate right there, and they couldn't get through the gate, so I jumped the fence and swam to the gate and got it open and tried to get the cattle to swim through it to get to higher ground.
The fire ants in that pasture had all gathered into mounds and clumps, and then they float so that they can save themselves.
And I see these things floating, and I think, what is that? And I got close enough to one I could tell it was a mound of fire ants. And I thought, man, if I touch one of those, they're just going to cover me, you know. I had to dodge those as I was swimming out trying to save the cattle. We had to open gates, we had to cut fences, we had to do whatever it took to get our cattle safe.
And it was a little scary. I knew he was doing what he had to do and wouldn't have it any other way as a rancher, because he's not going to sit there and watch, you know, these 3 steers suffer and drown. But at the same time, the winds were blowing, it was still raining. That is what we do as ranchers. We own part of our land with Callison Ranch, but other acreage is leased. I'm going to show you a quick clip of a leased property that we now run cow-calf pairs. Gorgeous piece of land that has been reclaimed. At one time, there were hog barns on this property, about 20 of them, and also the lagoons that went with those hog barns. Those lagoons have now been filled in, and one of the lagoons cleaned out and made a fresh water source for the cattle. And it's beautiful land now where those hog barns used to stand. It's so valuable to remember as ranchers that we are also conservationists. And the land that we use for our cattle and their grazing that makes great beef for families all over the U.S. also is home to wildlife and to other plants that make up this beautiful ecosystem, and all of it is so valuable. The pecans that come from our pecan trees, the deer that stay in the trees that we keep on the perimeter of all of our pastures so that there's shade for the cattle and also coverage for the wildlife, and all of the different things that go into conservation of land for ranchers, farmers, and other conservationists. Where I'm standing is grass, beautiful grass for the cattle to eat through the summer months. This is important to note because where I am standing through the winter months is actually a round bale feeder and where we put the round hay bales for the cattle to eat. But as soon as we are finished feeding those round bales in the spring, we clean up where those round bale feeders were. Through the winter, every single day a round bale is added to the feeder, and the cattle definitely leave their mark with manure and also stamping down the ground around it. And so we pull those round bale feeders, put them up for the winter. Don't want to leave them sitting because they rust anyway. And then bring in a tractor and clean up anything that's left of the round bales and make it perfect for grass to come on up. And we rotate where we put those feeders, and so it gives that land a chance to rest and also to rejuvenate. This next video was produced in conjunction with the Nature Conservancy. We lease about 1,400 acres from the Nature Conservancy and run about 400 steers there from March until August. It is a great land for our cattle to graze throughout the summer months, and it's a great opportunity to see the beautiful flora and fauna of the prairie. I oftentimes run into college students that are there studying our Oklahoma prairies, and also love to share it with those who follow us on social media. The Blue River flows through this property. It is one of only 2 free-flowing rivers in Oklahoma, and it is fenced off, so the cattle do not have access to that river and use the ponds as their own freshwater source. Welcome to the Prairie Preserve.
Ranching and range conservation go hand in hand with today's American ranchers. Meet the Callisons, who raise cattle in southern Oklahoma.
This is called the Yokanahali Prairie Preserve, which is Chickasaw for flowing water. So part of the Blue River flows right through this prairie preserve.
At the Nature Conservancy, we're excited about working with the private ranching community. I feel that we have tremendous overlap in our missions, biological conservation, the welfare and livelihood of people, productive rangeland landscapes that provide both habitat for wildlife species and livelihood for humans. It's perfectly compatible.
All of this plant material that we see out here, it's gorgeous to ride through, but we can't eat it. But the cattle can. Just as the buffalo would have roamed these prairies, then the cattle kind of mimic that. They graze the grasses and keep different parts of the ecosystem from being overgrown and fertilize the land as they go.
Grazing was a part of the evolutionary history of this continent, especially in the Great Plains. And so ecologically speaking, conservation speaking, grazing is a proper use of this landscape.
So as American ranchers, we're proud to partner with the Nature Conservancy and produce good quality beef.
To learn more about raising beef, visit beefitswhatsfordinner.com or oklabeef.org.